Okay, and we are recording. So I had a lot of fun when we did the other podcast when we were here. We talked about a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff done, and people enjoyed it. We got another couple of comments on the third interview, and I'll show you later. I don't know if you've gone it. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about the last time. There was so much to talk about and to cover. The last time, after we stopped filming, you and I started talking about doctors and their road or their journey, and you had a really, 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 really good point about how they get disillusioned. Tell me about that. What happens?
Well, I'm not sure what happens. I'm not a doctor, but I have a feeling, because I've talked to doctors, when they go into medical school, particularly if their way hasn't been paid, if they're paying their own way through, when they go into medical school, they have ideals. They know what they want to do. They want to heal people. They want to work with people. They have dreams. They're kids. They're young people. And then over the course of time, working in the hospitals as interns and whatnot, little by little, I think that they get disillusioned because they find that they cannot do what they choose to do. They can't follow their dreams. They have to follow the ritual, and the ritual is not always what they want to do. And I think that's true in the hospitals. I think it's true of the GPs. The GPs, for instance, very hard for them to diagnose nowadays, because if they diagnose and they're wrong, they get sued. So they send you to a specialist, which has taken away their worth. All they are is a warehouse that sends you someplace else, And the specialists, they're not even a specialist of the kidney. They're a specialist of specific parts of the kidney and functions. So everything is broken down, and the doctor is so far from the person. And that's not what they meant to do. That's not what they meant to be. And that's not even counting the fact that the pharmacies, the pharmaceuticals have taken over and always have how and what they sell and what they suggest to people.
Well, that's a series of podcasts all on its own, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And that's something that I don't know too much about, except that I just found out that something like Avendia, which is used in diabetes, it kills people. And they've done all the tests here, but they still have not taken it off the market. And now it's being tested in Europe, in Latvia, in Africa, and various other places where the information has not reached them about it's causing heart attacks and whatnot. So, again, disillusionment, because they're given a drug that they need to prescribe, but it isn't doing what it should do, and it might cause the death of a client. And how do you deal with that when you're a doctor?
Yes, very, very true.
That's
very,
painful.
very true.
It's painful.
And I've also heard that there's such a shortage of GPs that they, as you say, why would you want to set yourself up for feeling worth less or less valuable when you've spent all this money, all this time, and go to medical school, and now you're setting yourself up almost to fail in certain categories, right?
And especially now, I think, because the people who are needing medical the most are the older people. They're the hippies. Even though they're not the hippies anymore, they make a lot of money and all that, but still they have that challenging thing. They have that adventure thing. They have that, I got to look someplace else.
Yeah.
And so they're doubting the GP, and they're going into alternative areas because they're not comfortable with the GPs anymore. And again, the GP is at a loss, because how does he reclaim people?
Yes, exactly.
The GPs themselves are getting old. And as they leave, who's going to replace them? A new crowd of people who are very different from the old GP. I don't know if you're probably too young for this, but I'm not. I remember when a GP came to my house when I was a little girl and I was sick. He'd sit on my bed and I was better.
Yes.
He sat on my bed and that made me better. Everything was gone. Well, you don't get those home visits anymore. And even if you do, they're not the same kind. Your GP doesn't make you feel better. so many reasons why they feel less than, I really feel sorry for them.
No kidding.
So anyway, people, what I started saying was that the older crowd is looking more at the alternative fields for success, because they're coming down with all these diseases that weren't there 50 years ago. When I was a kid,
that's so true.
How many people in my school? I was in a school of 2,000 students. 2 people had allergies.
No.
2 people. And nobody knew what an allergy was. Everybody thought it was a joke. I was raised thinking an allergy was a joke. Well, it's not a joke anymore. I would like to believe it is, but I don't think it is.
So this is another thing. Tell me if I'm wrong. Somewhere I heard that if you eat, for example, summertime comes and you go up to the Okanagan and you get a whole bunch of fruit, right? And you gorge yourself on fruit. And you can actually develop an allergy because you eat too much fruit. Is that correct? Am I?
Yes, that's absolutely right. Anything that you overdo, you overload your system, and your body reacts as if it's an endangered species inside you.
So it's almost like a case of gluttony is causing allergies.
Yeah. One of the ways that you can tell you have an allergy to is when you're addicted to something. For instance, smoking is an allergy. It's an addiction, but it's an allergy. It's not a healthy thing for you, and it reacts in your body. Eating carbs the way we do with the pastas and the breads and all that stuff, where you're addicted to the carbs, that too is an allergy.
Wow.
And it's the end result is very often a discomfort called candida yeast problems.
Yes, especially in women.
And it's very hard to stop eating breads and pastas and all that, because you have a craving for it, and a craving denotes, at least in alternative concepts, denotes an allergy.
Ah, very, very interesting. So
again, let's go back to what you started saying. There's no medical person, no conventional medical person that will say, oh yeah, craving equals allergy.
So that's
an alternative concept. And for the medical people, for your doctors and stuff, they're kind of like parents. Their concept is, if you're right, then I'm wrong. And if I'm right, then you're wrong, as opposed to we both might be right. It would not be nice to have a win-win situation where both of us are right and both of us use each other, and it becomes blended medicine instead of alternative or, because that's what alternative means, is either or. I don't like either or. I like blended medicine where we can work together.
In a holistic way.
And my way of working with my clients is to make sure that their doctors are aware that they're receiving reflexology or kinesiology or anything else that I'm doing.
See, I like that, what you just said. You want to make the medical community aware when you've got a client, or that you're actively saying, okay, I'm treating, or not treating, but I'm doing reflexology on them, and touch for health and emotional freedom technique, so they are aware, so they can work with you, or at least acknowledge the fact that someone from the holistic community is doing something as well as, because when they start to get better, they're going to say, what are you doing? Right?
Well, I think they'll attribute it to both of us. I send people to the doctor because I'm not a diagnostician. I don't know what's wrong with them. I can say to them, look, go to the doctor and have your heart checked out, or your kidney checked out, or your skin checked out. And then once you know what's going on, we can work together to help you get better. But it's not an either or, it's an and.
Oh, that's so refreshing. Because I don't know how many holistic health practitioners out there will do either or, right? And why? What is the reason for that?
Oh, control. Power. Yeah, I think that would be it. Again, if you're right, then I'm wrong. If I'm right, then you're wrong. And as long as I'm right, because I know I'm right, I'm in control.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it doesn't work so well. No. Hey, listen, tell me about, you just showed me a fantastic video. And I did a podcast, and I sent it to you last night. You watched that last night?
Yeah, I did.
And I was trying to say, this is what I mean, and this is what we're trying to explain, the bridge between holistic health and science. And you just showed me a brilliant video that explained the whole thing from a, what does he do?
He's a cellular biologist who has proved scientifically, and he shows you step by step how genes do not control you. You don't have cancer because it's in your genes. Genes have nothing to do with that. Your perceptions or your beliefs do. And how they change the cell. A belief will change the cell. When the cell is changed, things change.
Yeah.
And so you can, what you believe is what you are.
And what is his name?
His name is Bruce Lipton.
Okay, so I'm going to embed some videos. We're going to break this into a series of podcasts. And with every video that we do, podcast, you and I'm going to put a video of Bruce Lipton below the video, and then people can go down there and get a true scientific explanation of what's going on.
He's spectacular.
Yes, I was extremely impressed, because that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But he said it so eloquently because he's trained in that field. I can explain it from the electronics point of view.
He will do it from the engineering and the electronic point of view, and a point of view of even making puzzles and pieces, so that me, who knows nothing about that, can go, oh yeah, I see how that is working. And he shows how the structure changes and either goes towards itself or against itself, and therefore changes the cell, and therefore changes your function, your behaviors.
Yes, as a matter of fact, in the book Bill Moyer's Healing in the Mind, he was interviewing one doctor, and the doctor said that there was a person that they were treating with a split personality. And one personality that showed up in this person was not diabetic, absolutely not diabetic. And they did medical tests on her. And when the other personality took over, she was now diabetic and physiologically diabetic. Her pancreas was shutting down.
Yep.
And that was a medically documented, scientifically documented study. And wow, that if we could all do the reverse of that, say, I'm diabetic, maybe I could repair my body just by thinking, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be brilliant?
And I think that's what EFT does, right? It's changing your beliefs so that you can recover from whatever it is.
Getting the garbage out of the way.
Getting the garbage out of the way, changing the belief.
That's not, and okay, so that's another area of interest too, because then you're going into either the psychological or psychologist or psychiatrist kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's very, very important too, because it all blends in to holistic. But that's forgotten at the doctor's office, isn't it?
Yeah. As you were saying that, I was thinking, I've been in pain for different reasons. I had a herniated disc once, but I was teaching a class. When I'm teaching, I'm in nirvana. I love teaching. And I taught a 3-day intensive class. It was much longer than that, actually, but I'm talking about these particular 3 days, where when I wasn't teaching, I was hurting a lot. But when I was teaching, I was on. Nothing hurt. Nothing hurt. And becoming aware of that made me aware that I can change my pain. I can change my behaviors about that pain. And just calling it my pain is a negative thing. Because if it's mine, then I don't want to get rid of it.
So how do you... Okay, so to take that further, how would you bottle that and to show people... Can you take that concept and say, this is what I did, and this is how I did it, and then we can put it on a series of podcasts? Can we do that?
I think we can do that, yeah. I think we can do that, because language is what creates your beliefs. So if you are thinking in terms of, that my boss is a pain in the ass, you say that a few times and you're going to get sciatica.
Or hemorrhoids.
Or hemorrhoids. Yeah, very
That's
true.
Very, very good.
Yeah, or somebody's a pain in the neck, you got a pain in the neck. Or
yes.
I can't stomach that person. Your language so affects you. And think of these terms. A lot of people will say things like, I can't do that because of my arthritis. But they'll never say, I can't do that because of my cancer. They don't own cancer.
See?